Welcome to Excel 2010 Business Math video number 69. If you want to download this workbook, Excel 2010 Business Math Chapter 8, click on the link below the video. Hey, we're on the sheet MOSP template. That means markup on sell price. This is section 8.2. Now, 2 videos ago, we compared and contrasted markup on cost and markup on sell price. Retail people use sell price as the base. So here's our template we're going to use when we're talking about markup on sell price. Notice the base has changed from last video. Last video, the base was cost, and no more, right? All the same formulas apply except for what? We have a new base. So we're always comparing cost and markup to the sell price. The reason that retailers do this is retailers ultimately want to see for every $1 into their cash register, how much went to the cost of the goods sold and how much was markup, which covers other expenses and profit. Again, base. Doesn't matter what type of problem you're talking about. If there's a base, the associated rate or percentage is what? 100%. So for us, in this video, this section, markup on sell price, the percentage or rate associated with sell price is what? 100%. All right, so here's our example. In the first part of this video, we'll go through all the possible formulas, and then we'll look at 4 specific examples. Kite Flight, a retail store, buys a boomerang that costs them 14 bucks. If they had a markup of $11, the sell price that they charge the customer would be 14 plus 11 equals 25 bucks. So let's go ahead, and we're given 2 pieces of information, 11 and 14. So the cost is what? $14. It's pre-formatted, right? So it comes up like that. And the markup, 11. So that means our sell price, this is our basic markup dollar formula that we've been using in this chapter. I simply add cost and markup to sell price. Alt equals is the keyboard shortcut for auto sum. So 25 bucks. That's the base. Now, what is our percentage cost on sell price and percentage markup on sell price? Notice both of these are comparing a dollar amount cost to the base, sell price, and the dollar amount for markup compared to the base sell price. All right, equals the cost divided by the base. Now, we don't need to use round because we're not calculating a dollar amount. So 56%. That means for every $1 that comes into the cash register, 56 pennies goes to the cost of the boomerang. All right, now let's do our next calculation. Equals 11 divided by this 25. So what is the markup? For every $1 we sell, what is the markup going to be? Enter. And these are pre-formatted. So 44%, or for every $1 that comes into the cash register, 44 pennies goes to markup. Now base, what is that? 100. You can always just type that in 100%. You could also check it. I'm going to say equals sum and highlight these 2 cells right here that are equal 100%. So that's our template. Now, last video we saw how to use a template like this for markup on cost, but this is the template for markup on sell price. The only difference, what? The base has changed. Now, we also talked about the last couple of videos. This is what we learned in Chapter 3. And this applies here. All of the formulas that we see in this chapter, we actually learned in Chapter 3. So I'm going to relate this template to what we did in Chapter 3. Now, the base. Oh, the base is the sell price. And there's 2 parts. What makes the markup and what makes the cost. All right, so I'm just going to say equals the actual sell price. Just fill this out. Equals the markup and the cost. Now, in section 8.2, when we're doing markup on sell price, the big, tall part, which is the sell price, is the base. So these 2 individual parts, markup and cost, make up. Remember, it's all about, this diagram is all about the height of this plus the height of this has got to equal that. So visually, that's why we set it up this way. All right, this is always going to be what, 100%? The markup, we calculated that to be 44%. And down here, percentage cost on sell price is 56%. All right, so again, these two parts, their heights added together equal this. Now, just as we saw last video, we started to talk about this in a slightly different way. This is a part, and this is a percentage or rate. These are associated, right? In this diagram, they're the same height, right? This one also. Now, in last video, we saw that anytime you have an associated part and associated rate, you can do division to get what? The base. All right, so I want to, just like last video, I want to go through all the possible formulas using this diagram, and then we're going to relate to, because this is all what we learned in Chapter 3. So we're going to do it here, and then we'll relate it to what we're learning in Chapter 8. All right, the basic formula, part equals base times rate. We have $2 parts, right? And in each case, we multiply a rate times our base, and we get the two individual parts. All right, let's do this. And this is dollar amount, so we're multiplying. So I'm going to use the round. We're calculating the dollar markup, sell price, which is the base, times the percentage markup on sell price. Now I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, I'm calculating the associated markup in dollars. So I'm going to use base times the associated rate, comma 2. Right, so 11. Now here I want to calculate the cost part in dollar. So this is the associated part. So I'm going to say base times associated rate equals round base times associated rate, comma 2. And when I hit enter, this is going to equal the associated part, 14 bucks. All right, so the way we'll talk about it, just like we did last video, if I'm calculating an associated part, it's base times associated rate. Remember, visually, it goes like this. All right, so now the second formula we studied in Chapter 3 was base equals part divided by rate. And we talked a bunch about this in last video, right? It's all about these two or these two. Associated part divided by associated rate will always give you the base. So let's try it. We'll calculate sell price. And first, we'll use the markup in dollars, right? Equals round associated part divided by the associated rate. How are they associated? Because they have the same color and the same size in this little diagram, comma 2. Oh, we got the sell price, which is 25 bucks. Now, there's a second way we can calculate sell price here, right? Equals round the other part, associated part, divided by associated rate, comma 2, 25. So it's two different ways. And why do we have two different ways? Because as we saw in last video with markup on cost, sometimes they give us this information, or we have these two, and we need to get back to the base. Other times, we have these two. Finally, the third formula we learned in Chapter 3, rate equals part divided by base. So I'm going to calculate associated rate equals associated part divided by the base. So let's calculate percentage markup on sell price. And I'm calculating a percentage, so I don't need to round it. All right, you ready? The actual markup in dollars divided by the base. So I'm dividing associated part divided by the base is going to give me associated rate. So when I hit enter, 44%. Now let's see if we can calculate percentage cost on sell price, meaning associated rate. So I'll take associated part divided by base. So down here, I'll say equals round. Oh, sorry, no round. I'm doing the percentage. Equals associated part divided by base will give me associated rate, and 56. So those are all 6 possible formulas that you'll see in this chapter. Now, we use this diagram. Let's scroll over and calculate these exact same. And I forgot to create the labels in this section for the formula, so I had to hit pause, and I just paste this here. All right, so we're going to do all 6 formulas, but from this new template. All right, and we're going to use our new formulas, right? So percentage markup, dollar markup and dollar cost, those are both parts. So in either case, we're going to say associated part equals base times associated rate. So equals round, we're doing a dollar amount, calculating dollar markup. So I'm going to take the base times the associated rate, comma 2. And that gives us 11. Now, let's calculate the other part, cost, equals round. It's still the same base times the associated rate. So I'm calculating associated part, so I use associated rate. Whoops, I forgot the comma 2. So 11 and 14. Now, what's the base for us? Sell price. So we have two different ways to calculate base. But it's always going to be associated dollar part divided by associated rate or percentage. Now, if they only give us these two, then we can use the dollar amount for markup and the percentage to calculate our base. So let's do that one first. Equals, and round, associated part divided by associated rate will always give us the base. Now let's do the other part and rate. Right? My goal is to calculate the base. I've been given a certain part, so I take the associated part divided by the other thing I was given, associated rate, and that will get me back to my base, 25. All right, now the two rates or percentages, we just have a different base. We're comparing our two parts to our base. And we're doing percentages or rates, so we don't have to use the round. All right, the first one, I'm going to do percentage markup. So I have to compare the dollar amount markup to the base. And for percentage cost on sell price, I take the part, again, associated part divided by the base will give me the associated rate. So I better get 56% when I hit Enter. All right, so that's kind of going through all the possibilities in this template and this template. Now let's go over, and I'm going to scroll over, and we have 4 examples on the sheet, MOSP examples. Click on this sheet. It's Markup on Sell Price examples. Now, we have our little template that we're learning in this chapter, and here's the template we learned from Chapter 3. I'm actually going to zoom in and just do this one. If you want to use this one, by all means, do. That's why I made the connection just a moment ago between the methods we learned in Chapter 3 and the methods we're learning in Chapter 8. All right, so here's the example number 1. If the cost of the Boomerang is $17.50 and the selling price is $30, find these items. Well, we're given 2 bits of information. We'll use our template, and we'll figure out all the parts. Cost. OK, so we're given that, 17.5. Selling price. I'm going to put selling price right here. Enter. All right, so now we have 2 items on the same side of the template. We can simply use the fact that this plus this equals that. I'm going to create a formula here. Equals, oh yeah, the sell price minus the cost. That'll give us our markup, $12.50. Now we jump over to this side. We're calculating rates or percentages. So here's an associated rate or percentage. So I need the associated part divided by the base. Equals associated part divided by the base gives me associated percentage or rate. In our case, percent cost on sell price. Now we're going to do the same thing here. Associated rate or percentage equals associated part divided by the base. So those two represent, so every time we have $1 come into the cash register, approximately 58 1/3 pennies goes to the cost. Approximately 41 2/3 pennies go to markup. All right, so that's our first example. Let's go get our second example. I'm going to scroll down here. 3-ring binder has a markup of $2. The $2 is a markup on sell price equal to 40%. Find everything else, right? So we're given markup on sell price as a percent is 40%, and the markup in dollars is 2. We can simply plug this in. Enter. and then 40%. Now, two things that are nice about this template here. If you get two things on the same side, we can solve for the other. This plus this equals that. So now I can simply do equals this, meaning the base minus percent markup on sell price. And that will give us our percent cost on sell price, 60, right? Because these two have to add up to equal 100%. Now, we have two items on the same line. Every time you have an associated part and associated rate, you can calculate the base. So let's come over here and calculate our base. And this is a dollar amount, so I'm going to use round. Associated part divided by associated rate, comma 2. $5. So now we have two parts on this side. So we can simply go, hey, give me the sell price minus whatever the markup is, and that'll give us our cost. So from 2 bits of information, we're able to, with our template and our knowledge of our formulas, calculate all the information. Let's look at our third example. All right, so cost of jogging shorts equals $9.15. The markup on sell price is 25%. Find everything else, right? So we're given 2 bits of information. We have our template. We know that the base is sell price. So we have that 100% just sitting there or typing it in. All right, so our cost, $9.15. Markup on sell price given is 25%. And that's pre-formatted, so I type it 25 and enter. All right, now we have 2 bits of information on one side of the template. So we can use our knowledge of that whatever this plus this equals that. So I'm going to say equals the percentage base, 100%, minus percent markup on sell price. And that will give me the percent cost on sell price, right? Because these two things added together have to equal 100%. Now, we can calculate our base because what? The template's very nice this way. If you have two items on the same line, meaning associated part and associated rate, you can calculate the base. This is a dollar amount, so I'm going to use round. Associated part divided by associated rate, comma 2, Control Enter, $12.20. Now we have 2 items on the same side of our template. So I can say, hey, sell price minus the cost will give us our markup, $3.05. So what do? We were given 2 bits of information. We had our template, and we could calculate all the other parts. Now let's look at our fourth example. And this one's slightly different. So here we're given, so this is about bananas. I hope I spelled bananas right. Right? So you bought 500 pounds, and the cost per pound was 56 cents. Our goal, and we know that the percentage markup on sell price is 45%. Our goal is to calculate total sell price. The only trick for this example right here is that we have to calculate the cost 500 times, because there's 500 pounds, and they give us how much we paid per pound. So down here equals, and I'm going to just use it. We technically don't have to because we have only pennies times an integer, but our rule is when we're calculating dollars and we have we're multiplying or dividing decimals, just use it. OK, so 280. In all the problems we had so far, they just flat out gave us what the cost was. But here we had to calculate it, right? But no problem. Once we got that, we can use our template to calculate the rest. Well, they do give us percentage markup on sell price. So that's 45%. 2 things on the same side, we can certainly calculate. This plus this equals that. So I'm going to say, hey, the base percentage minus percentage markup on sell price. That'll give me percentage cost on sell price, so 55. Now, we want to calculate our base. We have items on the same line, associated part, associated rate. I'm calculating a dollar amount, so I'm going to use the round. Associated part divided by associated rate, comma 2. 509 and 9 pennies. So that's the total sell price. All right, so markup, we simply say, hey, total sell minus total cost, and there we have our markup. Now let's take this one step further. Right? I kind of tricked you here. I just gave you this one little complication, and we just did what we know so far, this template. But now, what happens if you're in charge of figuring out, you bought this is wholesale, and you're in charge of figuring out actually how much we should charge per pound? Well, I could simply take the total selling price. Remember, we used our markup on sell price to get to this, divided by 500. But here's the kicker with perishable goods. What if they tell you that 10% of the bananas will spoil, and you still want 45% markup on sales price? Well, we went ahead and calculated, assuming that all 500 would be good. Right? If all 500 were good, we'd just take this divided by that. But no. We can't use that because 10% of those are going to go bad. So step 2, I'm going to say the number of bananas we bought, pounds, right? 500. Percent that are spoiled. And I'm going to go ahead and calculate the actual number of bananas sold, right? We bought all these. We put them out on the rack, but 10% of them went bad. Our rule, we're going to use around because we're multiplying decimals here. I'm going to say 500. But it's not times 10%. That would give us the number of pounds that went bad. It's the complement. So what's 1 minus 10%? It's 0.9 or 90%. So we sold 90% of them, comma 2. All right, so we have 450. Now the final step is straightforward. You actually know 450 pounds were sold instead of 500. Since you know what we want, this is the total selling price given our markup that we want, we simply take this divided by the 450. All right, and this is pennies, so I'm going to round. And that'll tell us per pounds, because this is the total selling price, the total dollars we need in. This is the number we sold. We divide it by that, and it tells us, boom, $1.13. All right, so those were 4 examples of markup on sell price. And this last one was actually an example of perishable goods. In our next video, we'll talk a little bit more about calculating the price you would charge for perishable goods. All right, see you next video.